Welcome to the Back to Health podcast, where we share inspirational stories of hope to help you reclaim your health. If you're suffering from a chronic condition and have been given little to no hope, if you've been told that there's nothing wrong with you, but you know there definitely is something wrong, or if you're just trying to be preventative and want to know how to reclaim your health, then this podcast is for you. I can't wait to share today's episode. Hello. It's another episode of the Back to Health podcast with me, Rushani and Amanda. And today we're talking all things weight loss and optimal health. My guest today is a certified Wildfit coach, and she's on a mission to help people transform their relationship with food. You're in for a real treat and some amazing insights in today's episode. So please welcome Amanda Finnis. Hello, Amanda. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Rushani.
Oh, I am so excited to dive into today's topic because, as we both know, this is such an area of passion, and we've both been through the Wildfit program, which is what we're talking about today, and it has been life changing, not just for us, but for so many in the whole Wildfit community. So I'm really excited to sort of shed light on what Wildfit is and what it can do for people, and just how it can really help people achieve optimal health. Like, I know we've titled the episode "Weight Loss and Optimal Health," but really, weight loss is a side effect of striving for optimal health. And so I'm going to hand it over to Amanda and let her tell us her story of how she found Wellfit and sort of why she went down this road.
All right. It was the spring of 2019, and I was weighing the heaviest I'd weighed. I couldn't seem to lose any weight, and I was getting really desperate. A bunch of colleagues at my school, I'm a teacher for my career, and a bunch of colleagues were going and getting some injections, the B12 injections, and taking some appetite suppressant pills, and they were looking fabulous. And I was like this close, I was researching the numbers. I was like, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to have what they have. So, a Saturday night, we got dressed up in 80s gear and went to a silent auction at my children's school. And there was an Instapot on the auction items, and my husband was like, I really want the Instapot. And so we bid on it. Kind of with silent auctions, I never bid so much where I know I'm going to definitely win. I kind of put my name down and leave it and see. Well, we won. So we got home and we have this Instapot, and there's some cookbooks in there. And then I find this trifold for Wildfit. And I'm like, what's Wildfit? So I start reading the trifold, and I'm Googling it like everybody is doing, is what's Wildfit. And I couldn't, really find out everything, but I contacted Cynthia Morgan, and Cindy said, well, I have my trial class coming up in a week or two. And so part of me was like, a week or two, I want to start yesterday. So, we started the trial class together in March of 2019, and it was Zoom wasn't even popular yet, but we did Zoom calls, and it was fun traveling with the tribe of ladies. Well, within the first 5 weeks, I had released 10 pounds. And we say 10 pounds because we say released because those 10 pounds are still gone. So then I finished my 13-week course, and I released another additional 10 pounds. So I released 20 pounds in 13 weeks. Now, the bigger, deal, I think, is that here we are coming on a year of a pandemic. So it's been a year of unusual circumstances, and, being home more, being near the kitchen, stress is there. And I'm happy to say that the 20 pounds are still released. And so that's where, the excitement comes in, knowing that this program wasn't a fad. It wasn't a momentary thing. And then, you mentioned before about the weight release. So I've, talked about what we all think about, but what I never expected to get from Wildfit were all the other implications that helped me to have optimal health. So prior to Wildfit, every morning I would wake up and my hip would hurt. It felt like it wasn't in the ball and socket correctly. Just every morning it would hurt. And so I was, seriously thinking like, oh, I'm going to need to have hip surgery. I'm going to have a hip replacement sooner than later. And I mean, I was 44. Like, what kind of a thought is that, to be thinking that you're going to need a new hip? So the nice, amazing thing is I have no more pain in my hip. Then the other thing is at night I would go to sleep and my feet would feel like sausages. They would feel like I remember my grandfather, he wore the like black socks, and when he would take them off, his ankles looked kind of swollen. That's how I felt. Like, I don't think that they actually looked that way, but I would wake up to having aching feet in the morning. That is gone. I get so many compliments on my skin now. And then my sleep is incredible. So, I mean, WildFit has just been life changing. And then beyond that, what I didn't expect was how it trickled into my family. So I know many women, we struggle to put ourselves first because we're thinking about what do our kids eat, what does our husband eat. And finally with WildFit, I was like, no, I'm going to figure out my dinner, and then I'll work your dinner around my dinner. And the amazing thing is now my picky eaters, are eating all kinds of fish. They're eating sweet potatoes, butternut squashes. They're trying veggies without putting up the fight. And so watching the ripple effect into my children's life is amazing. And then beyond that, I have cousins, nieces, my parents have all discovered WildFit, and they love the way of life and all the variety that WildFit provides. So that's my story as to how I found Wildfit.
I love it so much because so much of that resonates with my own story as well. So, for anyone that doesn't know, I was able to lose 23 kilograms in the 12 weeks as well on the program. And I really want to emphasize that WildFit is not a diet, and it's not a plan, and it's not restrictive. It is a lifestyle, and one that is actually, once you get into it, so easy to maintain. Like, it doesn't feel hard, and it's very much about food freedom. So, it's not about you can eat these things and you can't do these things, and you should feel guilty if you ever look at one of those things again. It's about finding what works for your body, tuning into sort of what your body reacts to and what it doesn't react to, and then finding what's safe, and then learning to live a lifestyle where you're able to talk to your body and only put in the things that your body really wants and needs. And always making better choices. But that thing you said about the ripple effect is so true, because like just like you, like my kids have done the same thing, and they're just so much more open and willing to try all these new things. We found healthier ways to make the same foods they love. So healthy ways to make brownies, healthy ways to make cookies, healthy ways to make banana bread. And I was shocked. My daughter was like, I want more of this stuff. And it's like, wow, it's jam packed with literally nutrition and nothing else. No sugar, no, it's just literally bananas, almond butter, and some eggs, and no sugar. And she's just like, I love this. Like, I think their taste buds have also just become accustomed to now eating this way, because it is a ripple effect, just like you say. And same with my husband and my parents, and like wider family. Like, everyone sees what you're doing, they can see it's working, and then you're giving the gift of health to all the people around you as well. So that's one of my most favorite things about WildFit as well. And maybe you can talk us through, sort of like, for anyone listening thinking, like, what is this WildFit thing? Like, what do I have to do? Like, how, what does it require of me? Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the time involvement and sort of what's required if you join the program.
Sure, of course. I decided to become a coach because many of my friends and family were wanting it anyway, and I was like, well, I'd like to be the coach, that helps them along their way, and we're having these rich conversations anyway. So I started my coaches training in November of 2020, and I'm now a WildFit certified coach, which is awesome. And so being a coach is a 13
Congratulations.
week Thank you. It's a 13-week process to become a coach. And so let me tell you a little bit about what it looks like for when you try the Wildfit lifestyle. So the Wildfit program, the challenge is 13 weeks. And it is, called a challenge because there are challenging moments. And just like when you decide to hike a mountain, there's going to be a challenge. It's not going to all be the easy downhill part. So we start off in Wildfit by identifying your hungers. We talk about 6 hungers in Wildfit, and just to name a few, we have our nutritional hunger. Are you getting enough variety in your diet? Or are you having the same things over and over? Many families, have one thing Monday night, another thing Tuesday night, etc. So we have our nutritional hunger. We also have our low blood sugar hunger. So some of us eat in a manner that it causes our blood sugar to crash. And so we get that hangry. You've all seen or maybe experienced hanger yourself. So we've got the low blood sugar. We have thirst hunger. I find that thirst hunger is one that I keep coming back to for myself, that often when I believe I'm hungry, it turns out I'm actually just thirsty. And I know, Rushani, your water challenge helped me so much to just be more cognizant of what water, how many ounces I'm drinking. And so with the thirst, if you think about our ancestors, they didn't have the fresh sources of water like we did often. So they relied heavily on their foods for that hydration. So that's where fresh fruits come into play, fresh veggies, having some raw meals without cooking, or if you do cook your veggies, just putting them in a little bit just to kind of give them that steamed effect. We also have in Wildfit, so we have the 6 hungers, and I've told you about a few, but then we also get into our mental state. So slowing down and to find out why you're eating things. So we'll take the example of ice cream. Eric Edmeades, our founder of Wildfit, tells a story about, why do so many of us, like when we're out, want an ice cream cone? And he mentions that, think about it. You're out, you're sightseeing, your parents are tired, and so they know a way to get you to be quiet and to sit down for a minute. And so they take you to an ice cream shop. You all get to sit down for a little bit, and you're quiet, and you look at this attachment. And parents mean the best, and they want to do the best for their kids, and as parents we think that we're giving our kids a treat. We're saying, you've been good, let's have that ice cream, or you've been walking a long time, let's have that ice cream. But in our subconscious, we're then forming these attachments to foods. So for example, I live in Maryland, and for decades, if we went to the beach, it was, let's get an ice cream cone. And so just looking at why do we have that craving for ice cream? Do we really want the ice cream, or is it more that emotional hunger, which emotional hunger is another hunger in Wildfit? So the first couple of weeks, we take a look at our 6 hungers. Then we take a look at the dialogue, and we say that we have our food angel and our food devil. So, the food angel saying, yeah, you don't need the ice cream because you've just walked around and you're thirsty, have some water. And the food devil says, but we're here. We haven't been to this ice cream store in years. Let's get a double. And then the food angel says, no, you really don't need that. Like, your whole purpose of walking around was just to have time with your family. And then the food devil slips in and says, well, let's just have a kid-sized cone. And so just slowing down time and listening. Another factor is the food timeline. So after you've had the ice cream, which is actually really cow pus from the lactating cow, but after you've had your ice cream, slowing down, like how does it make you feel? Many of us find we have a coating on our mouth. Some people, have to rush to the restroom. So like just slowing down, how does the food make you feel? And on the flip side of that, when you have a banana or a big salad, like how does it make you feel? Are you energized? With Wildfit, we drink alkagizers. I like to call them the fountain of youth. So alkagizers are basically veggie smoothies, and it's amazing how many different Wildfit grads talk about the energy they find in their drinks. And when they have all these vitamins and nutrients that are packed into each alkagizer, just the energy that they have. I actually have a client right now. She's on her third week, and she said that she was in the bathroom the other day, and she looked in the mirror. And this is only after 1 week of having alkagizers, and she noticed her skin was all dewy and glowing. So I mean, it's just amazing how fast it works. So then, after we've gotten a hold of our six hungers, our food dialogue, our food timeline, we then gradually start to take a vacation from items that can cause inflammation. So one big item that causes inflammation is sugar. And guys, even if you don't try Wildfit, please start checking your ingredients, because you think you're buying something healthy and there's sugar in it. Last night, one of my clients said she had a protein bar, and it says protein. So she was like, yeah, I'll eat the protein bar. Well, on our call last night, she looked, it had 21 added sugars in it. So, I mean, here's this bar that she's thinking, I know, 21, 22 grams of sugar. It was a ton. And so just taking the time out to really look at your ingredients and asking, does this product serve my body? And, if the answer is no, or if you look on the back and you think, I don't even know what these ingredients are or how to pronounce them, chances are it doesn't serve your body.
Yes, and that's so true. And just going back to one of your points about the that timeline, the food timeline, this was one of the things that really made things clear for me, because Eric always says, your decision, you normally find more joy in the decision to eat something than actually from eating the thing that you're wanting to eat. So if you want that chocolate cake and you're thinking about it and you're like, oh, I really want to eat it, I really want to eat it, and your devil's really strong on that shoulder, the second that you make the decision to say, yes, I'm going to have that chocolate cake, you feel super excited, super happy, because you are anticipating having that particular cake. But when you actually put it into your mouth and then sort of the timeline beyond there, it's not actually as satisfying as you originally thought it was. So the thought of having it is more satisfying than actually having it. And this for me was quite eye-opening, because it really does take slowing down time, like you said, to be able to realize that, because you normally make the decision, you go grab the cake before you change your mind, and then you're like already gobbling it down, and you're like, oh, now I feel a bit sick, and actually I feel quite lethargic, and actually I didn't really want that didn't taste as good as I thought it tasted in my head. And when you just slow down and allow yourself to say, I've made that decision to have the cake, I feel quite excited right now, but I'm going to put a date in my mouth instead of the cake. And it's fine. I still got the excitement from making the decision, and I didn't put all that sugar into and just sort of finding ways to replace the things that you think you want, and just seeing, can I cope with that? Like, can I cope without it? How long can I go without actually having it? Do you have any other tips for us like that, where you're really craving something and the craving is coming on strong, and you just sort of need to talk yourself out of it so that you get into the habit of actually not giving in to cravings? Because I guess that's what can make quite a few people scared about having to take vacations from things. It's like, what am I going to do when I want the cheese? What am I going to do when I want the cake? Like, how can people sort of cope in those situations?
Sure. So I guess I have two thoughts that come into mind. One thought involves a date, just like you mentioned. So it was a beautiful, like 78 degrees, warm day. The sun was shining. And this was just a few weeks ago. And I was near our Wendy's, which is a fast food chain. And I thought, ooh, a chocolate frosty would taste so good. And so I was like, maybe I should go in. And then my food angel was like, I don't really think you'll like that much. And the food devil was, again, well, let's have a kid size. And then the food angel said, but won't you have as much satisfaction out of a date? And so I decided to, when I got home, that I would have a date. To be honest, by the time I got home, the whole urge had passed. I didn't have the date or the frosty, and I just enjoyed my water. So that's, one trick. Another trick is, often it's really the thirst hunger, like I've mentioned. So if you're really like craving, like Rushani said, you can say, okay, I'm going to have the cake, but first I'm going to drink my water. And then the other layer that I think is often there with the thirst is the emotional hunger. Like, I know for me, being a mom and working full time and having a part time career, it's like, it's busy. And so sometimes, like, especially in the evenings, I'm like, just, want to eat something. And so part of it is slowing down. And when those urges come on, take a minute, call your friend, or go for a quick walk around the block, and just, or go meditate for a little bit, just kind of get yourself removed from that scenario. And I think too, remove yourself from the kitchen as much as you can, because I think when we're around food, it's subliminally hitting us. But Rishani, you mentioned that chocolate cake, and for me, I grew up in a university town in Ohio, and we are known for our pizzas, and we have like more pizza restaurants, than any other restaurant. And so pizza has been my thing, where I'm like, I really want pizza. I really want pizza. I really want pizza. And it has lessened over the years because, when I decide to have the pizza, 99% of the time, I think, this doesn't actually taste good, and it doesn't even look good. And again, that milk is made for a baby cow, and I don't want to weigh 1,000 pounds like a baby cow does in the first year, so just slowing down and realizing. And then, like, I know I did have pizza in the recent past, and it made me feel atrocious. And so, was it the gluten, was it the cheese? But the next time that I crave it, I'm going to really slow down and think about, like, oh, that doesn't really serve me. Or one other trick is, one day again, I was having the pizza craving, and my neighbor happened to, the same exact day, saute zucchinis and tomatoes and grilled chicken and put it all together with garlic. And it tasted exactly like pizza. And I felt amazing after. And all of the food served my body. So I guess, like, slowing down, and what are you really craving? Are you, in the chocolate cake example, are you craving the sugar, or is it more like that, maybe a scoop of cacao powder in your hot water with a few mint leaves? Like, maybe that would satisfy that craving and give you a treat that actually does treat your body.
Yeah, I love that so much. And the other thing I really love about Wildfit is about the fact that you can't actually fail. And this is quite a novel concept. Like, most diets or fads that you try, it's like once you fall off the bandwagon, then you've fallen off, and it's like there's shame and there's, all this guilt that comes with that. But with Wildfit, like, you really can't fail. Like, could you just talk to us a little bit about that aspect of the program?
Sure. So with Wildfit, our big focus is that it's about progress, not perfection. And Eric, the founder, even says, go ahead and have an experiment, see how it makes you feel. And so, for example, with me, with that, the pizza story is, well, it made me feel horrible. And so I wouldn't have known that if I hadn't tried it. I would have still continued to obsess over whatever, for me it was the pizza, but for you it might be the cake. And so go ahead and slow down and just be really present when you're having it. I think this connects. I have a fun story. So we were recently going to make cookies for my daughter's teacher. And I was like, I really don't want to give her cookies that don't serve her body. So I found a recipe. My friend gave me a recipe for a paleo chocolate chip cookie. And it had all good things in it, maple syrup, I think some chocolate chips that were the dark chocolate, with very little sugar, some almond flour, some arrowroot flour. And my daughter came in, and I was hoping to make the cookies kind of, not so she wouldn't know that I wasn't using the normal flour. Well, we went ahead and we tasted some of the batter, and we both loved it. But the recipe didn't make as many cookies as I needed. So I said to her, I was like, well, why don't we make the regular cookies now? And then we'll have a taste test and see which ones we prefer. And my daughter and I both preferred the paleo cookies. And then we put it by the real judge, which is my husband. And so my daughter blindfolded my husband so he couldn't see the difference in the cookies. And he voted for the paleo cookies. So now we found a new recipe that's a win because all of the ingredients, are healthy and they nurture our body.
I love that so much because that is really the power of when you discover foods that, like you say, they taste good and they serve your body. And it's sort of like a no brainer, like the new banana bread recipe that I mentioned. That's like the new breakfast because it's healthy. I'm happy for her to have it. She loves it. And it's feeding her body like for the day, like rather than the sugary cereal or the croissant or the bread or whatever she might be having instead. This is like proper nutrition, but she's really enjoying it, and so you don't have to convince anyone to eat it. It's sort of like it happens by itself. And I love that your daughter was involved in doing that experiment, because the more we allow them to experiment with these different foods, the more our kids are making these decisions for themselves. Like, we're not coercing them, we're not trying to say, please make the healthier decision, please eat the healthier food. They're learning, actually these foods are really good. They're not just they don't just taste good, but they're nourishing my body too. So that's fantastic.
Rushani, I want to share a recipe with you. I'm glad you mentioned the banana muffins again. So recently we wanted pancakes, and some of the recipes are so much easier than other recipes that you've probably traditionally been using. The pancakes take 2 eggs and 1 mashed banana. And so you just stir it all together, and then you cook it like a pancake. Now you can get creative, if you want to add a little bit of vanilla to it or some blueberries, you can get creative. But my daughter now, those are the pancakes that she asks for. And she knows there's a banana and an egg. And like you said, it serves her body because that energy from the food is released slowly rather than super fast. And so it's so exciting how we can gather together to start a health revolution. And I think that that's, the big key is we as consumers, we vote every time we spend our money. So by spending our money on things that are more and more nutritious, by buying more organic produce, by buying more ethically raised proteins, we are making a difference. And one thing too that I love about Wildfit is that it really is a plant-based program. We do eat protein, but for a lot of it, it's just a lot of produce. And thinking of that, one other, you asked me at the beginning about what is Wildfit. So Wildfit also teaches us to think more seasonally in the way in which we eat. And so by meaning this, if you think about the natural seasons outside and thinking about what would be in abundance in the springtime. Well, in the springtime, in abundance are leafy greens and your lean proteins. And then thinking about summer, that's where your berries start to come in. So maybe having a few berries. And then thinking about fall, well, that's where your harvest. I always picture like a Thanksgiving table, with the cornucopias overflowing and just all of the abundance. And then winter is a little less, and it's we have a little bit less of the food sources available. So with Wildfit, the big reason that we try to live seasonally is we want to give our pancreas a break. So if you think about our grocery stores now and the way that many of us have eaten for years, we're eating sugar all the time. And that's really hard for our pancreas to break it down. So by taking a break, and in the springtime, just really enjoying the green produce and the lean proteins, you're letting your pancreas heal, and that's such a huge part of Wildfit too. And then just to clarify, with our seasons, we kind of get to decide how many days of spring we want, how many days of fall. So it's not always completely aligned to the actual outdoor season, but it could be.
Yeah, and it's such a powerful way to sort of look at the produce that we eat too, because as we understand it, different fruits and different vegetables grow in season. But now, in the way that we live, we get most fruits and vegetables in all seasons, which doesn't make sense, because then that doesn't mean that they're not being naturally grown, right? They're growing outside of their natural season. So when we also start to understand seasonality in produce, we're able to eat the things that are naturally grown at specific points in the year, and actually not eat into the ones that have maybe been modified, or being grown outside of their natural sort of season and cycle, which is also a really important point as well.
Well, and I know for me, even before I discovered Wildfit, watermelon is one of those fruits where I love it in the summertime when you can buy it from a farm stand or when it was picked local. But to buy it in December, it doesn't have the juicy sweetness that it's intended to have. And same with strawberries, you can buy strawberries year round, but the good strawberries are the ones that you've gone and you've harvested in the fields, and seeing, connecting with where did it come from, or going to your local produce store. And so I love that point about really connecting too with your produce and with the seasons.
Yeah, definitely. And we've mentioned a few we've talked about paleo just very briefly, sort of when we've been talking about wildfit, and people may be wondering, so like, what is it? Is it a paleo lifestyle? Is it keto? Is it, what is it? So maybe you could just talk to us a little bit about sort of what types of, like, we don't want to pigeonhole, because like we said, it's a lifestyle, but we do incorporate things from each of those different sorts of diets as well.
Yeah, great point. So, Wildfit is its own lifestyle, but there are elements of it that correlate with paleo. And I would say the element that mostly correlates is getting it back to nature. Like, is it something you could find in nature? And I think I mentioned before the ingredients on the back of a bag. Like, just thinking, like, can you find it in its simplest form? Can you keep it as simple as possible? So I know, like, in protein bars here in the United States, there are some brands that only contain like eggs, nuts, and dates. And so trying to keep it really simple and as close to nature, and trying not to have too much processed food, or actually avoiding processed food, kind of, unless you process it yourself. And then for keto, when we're enjoying our springtime with our proteins and our lean and greens, our body just naturally flips into ketosis. When we take a break from all the sugar, we get into ketosis naturally. And ketosis is so important because it's the fat burning stage, and it helps us get rid of old stored fat. And so many of us are storing fat from decades and from just years and years, but our body, the way humans were designed, is to cycle the fat on and off in the course of a year. And so with ketosis, that's where we get to cycle it off. Another factor that seems to have worked its way into Wildfit, it's not in the 90-day challenge, but many of the graduates like to incorporate intermittent fasting, which then goes along with the am I hungry? Or did I watch Saturday morning shows that told me that I had to eat breakfast and it was the most important meal of the day? And so or is it am I hungry for dinner, or was it taught to me that every day, you have to have dinner? So really slowing down and taking a look at your practices, and maybe at lunchtime you're not hungry, and so just just taking a look, slowing down, getting that food dialogue. Am I hungry or am I bored? Am I thirsty? And so Wildfit is, like I said, it's a lifestyle that involves elements of the keto, the paleo, and the intermittent fasting, but and fasting itself. But with keto, one big difference is the founder of Wildfit does not like to use dairy, and so that is for many wild fitters below the line, or maybe very much more selective. Like maybe people might want to do a high end, high quality, ethically raised cheese occasionally. That's where you get to decide. Like Rushani said, it's up to you after the 90-day challenge what you bring back, how often you bring it back, why you bring it back. And I think too, like, I'll just talk a little bit about alcohol and about how, many of us kind of have our glass of wine because everybody else is having the glass of wine, and it's slowing down to, do I want it? If I want it, okay. But if it doesn't serve me, then maybe I'm okay to have that water. And I think WildFit helped me to feel strong to advocate for my needs. Like I know when with family or friends, I was always hesitant to say that I don't want refined sugar, but it gave me voice and power to be like, no, I don't want brown sugar in the chili you're making. Can you just set a little bit aside for me because I don't need that to serve my body? So
Yeah, I really love that. And I think, yes, for me as well, that is true. It has given me so much more confidence to not feel like I'm being the fussy one, or I'm trying to be special because I don't want to have certain things. It's just sort of saying, this is what I want to put into my body. And, if you could respect my boundaries, like I'm very happy for you to do what you might want to do. But actually, I found that's really worked in it's worked really positively, because then I've had people turn around and say, actually, yours tastes just as good as mine tastes without the sugar. So maybe I just won't put the sugar in for anyone, and we'll all just eat a bit healthier. So it's actually made people rethink the way that they are making stuff, because it's like, yeah, I could set yours aside, or I could just make it healthy for everyone, and then everyone can benefit from that. So it has made me a lot more confident to actually voice what I feel my body needs, or what I want and what I don't want. Because sometimes you can find yourself going to a guest's house and just saying, oh, I'll just eat it because I don't want to be fussy, or I just won't say anything about it. But it's like, actually, the more we advocate for what we feel is good for us and our body, the more it actually makes other people think as well. And again, it comes back to that ripple effect of, when you look after your health and you're advocating so strongly for your health, it does make people stop and think. And then they're like, actually, do I need it? Does it actually make a difference to my food? That extra bit of sugar, can I live without it? And it's great to see that so positively. You've given us such a great sort of walkthrough of Wildfit and all the benefits, and just like how much it helps with mindset as well as the eating side. I think I'd love to come to the community side, because for me, this was definitely one of the most powerful parts of the program. The community that comes with Wildfit is amazing, and that's obviously how we met. But you're in touch with that community for months and months and months and months, well after the 13 weeks of the program. And so many of them you become your friends for life. They become your cheerleaders. And when you're having that moment, like, I really want the cake and I feel like, I want to have it, it's so great to be able to just pop into a community and say, guys, having a bit of a moment, someone talk me out of this. And it's so great that there's always like at least 10 people who have your back and can help you with, working your way through whatever the emotional side of that might be. So maybe you can talk us through the community side.
yeah, so I mean, I think you did a really good explanation of it. So when you do your 90-day challenge, there's lots of options. You can do a self-study, you can do part of a tribe. But the great thing is when you travel with a tribe, when you bring your friend, your sister, your cousin, your parents, you can then speak that same language, and you can support each other. And you can work with a coach such as myself, and we also become your cheerleader. And you can get in touch with us, and like Rushani said, like, say, oh my gosh, I just had a stressful day. I feel myself reaching for a drink, but I don't even want to drink. And so we can cheer you along. And then there's many different platforms. Like I know my partner and I, we offer a 6-month plan or a year-long plan for members to join, to be connected with the tribe, to make sure that they have their grounding cemented. And the reason that my partner and I decided on that is when I finished Wildfit, um, it was still new and there weren't quite as many tribes there. And I found that I was sort of flipping and flopping, after I knew the principles, but I just needed that more encouragement. And so, thankfully, I found part of a tribe. And through, like Rushani said, there's always 10 people who have your back or who say, hey, have you tried this recipe? Have you tried, working out here or then? And it's so amazing to be part of the tribe. And I just reminded myself the other part of Wildfit is intentional movement. So just looking for opportunities to move and to, many of us are at home because of the current situation. And so we might not log as many steps, but, looking for opportunities like, oh, can I go up and down the stairs 2 more times than necessary? Or when I go to the store, can I park farther? And so looking for opportunities to do that intentional movement. And then I think too, I think that we're on such an important time in history to really create this food revolution because there are circumstances going on around us where people are falling ill and it's a little bit scary times. And so taking this opportunity to say, I want the best health for my body, I want the best health for my family, and looking at the self-care and the wellness that comes along with Wildfit, it's just so empowering. And it's amazing to have the tribe surrounding you and encouraging you, for 5 minutes a day. Put yourself first. Remind yourself what you're grateful for. And, just make the most of your life.
Yeah, and I think that is probably the best advice. So for anyone listening, if you're even just a little bit curious, you've got to try Wildfit for yourself. And Amanda is a brilliant coach, and she has a few programs coming up. But maybe you can let them know about the 2-week trial, because I think for anyone that's piqued a bit of interest, the 2-week trial is a great way to dip your toe in the water to find out if this is for you or not.
Sure. So the 2-week trial, it's amazing because I can start you on any Monday. So, when you're ready, you let us know and we can let you start the 2-week trial. And you can, like I said, you can do it independently or you can grab a friend and say, hey, let's give this a try for 2 weeks. And we'll sign you up and you get videos from Eric Edmeades, the founder. He gives you so much background. You really dive into the food dialogue, the food angel, the food devil conversations. And so the 14-day trial is amazing. And I think too, Rashani, one thing that I reminded myself of is I like to say, give yourself grace and space. And you asked earlier about like the commitment and people feeling like they can't commit. Wildfit, I think, is about giving yourself grace and space. So just being gentle on yourself, being kind to yourself, but then giving yourself space to experiment and try new foods and just space to clear your head and do journaling, whatever that space is. But just be kind to yourself, all of you. And I would love to work with you guys and set up a 2-week trial. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, and one of the things about Wildfit is that it is such a kind program. It's been built in a way that you really can't fail. Like you have to really try hard to fail, and you don't have to try very hard to succeed at all. Like you literally have to just follow the. There's very short videos every day. It's been a while since I've watched them, but between
So
5 and 10 minutes
it's
or so.
the first 2 weeks are a little lengthier. So the first 2 weeks, there's daily videos. And then following that, there's a video on Monday and Friday until week 13. And then you go back to the daily videos. But, there you can listen to them in your car ride. You can listen to them on your walk. And they include such powerful information that it's just life changing. The thoughts, one story Eric says is about a high performance sports car. And, if you've just driven your high performance sports car on the track, what are you going to fill it up with? Are you going to fill it up with bubbly, sticky soda, or are you going to fill it up with the best fuel that it needs? And so, thinking about our bodies, why would we fill our bodies up with sticky, bubbly, chemical laden products when we could fill it up with amazing natural foods that serve our body? And one thing too, Roshani, is I'm sure some of you today are like, I want to do Wildfit. I want to start Monday. We can start you on your 90-day challenge any Monday also. The format of the program is to start on Mondays. And so it's such an amazing, it's just life changing. And like Rushani said, the tribe, like, especially through our current, different lockdown situations, I've been more in touch at times with my Wildfit tribe, who has the same health motivation as I do. And like you said, Rushani, we became fast friends just from Wildfit.
Yeah, it honestly is just worth it for the tribe. Like, you have to just join for the energy and the positivity and the support and the knowledge as well. Like you said, though, even though the videos for the first 2 weeks might be lengthier, you are actually getting so much nutritional education. Like, there is so much education in those videos, that it's, you will learn so much. So even if you just try the 2 weeks, you are going to learn so much and you're going to fall in love with it pretty quickly. So I highly urge you to give it a go. Thank you so much, Amanda. It's been just, as always, a pleasure to speak and connect and just share, our love for Wildfit and what it's done for us, but hopefully also what it can do for others who are listening as well. Do you have any final words of wisdom you'd like to share with the audience before we wrap up for today?
I think just the grace and space and treating your body well, and being grateful. Take time every day to remind yourself what you're grateful for, and maybe do a little bit of breathing in there while you're reminding yourself to be grateful, slowing down. And then I forgot to mention that earlier, is that Wildfit also incorporates breathing. And in our fast go, 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 go lives, slow down. Give yourself that grace and space. And you are the best version of yourself, and just continue to refine who you are and what life means to you.
I love that so much. Thank you. So, for anyone that would like to learn more about what Amanda does or to join the Wildfit Challenge, then please check the links below this episode in the show notes, and you'll find everything over there. And if you'd like to hear more episodes of the Back to Health podcast, you'll also find the links to the show in the show notes. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope that this episode has given you some food for thought and helped you change the way that you look at health and food as a whole. Until next time, thank you so much and take care.
Thank you, Rushani.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you would like any of the links or the show notes, you can follow them in the description below. And for more episodes of the Back to Health podcast, please be sure to follow us on YouTube, or you can follow us on Spreaker, where we host our podcast. Thanks again, and I look forward to joining you for another episode of the Back to Health podcast. Until then, stay healthy, stay happy, and stay informed.